Hello everybody, Mannix here. Got yet another cold steel compare and contrast versus video for you right here, right now. Very excited because these are always so fun to do. But first, feel free to subscribe, hit that little bell notification if you do not want to miss weekly knife and gun videos. As always, let's get our specs out of the way. Now, as you can already see, we have a longer length on our Espada. The blade is longer, the handle's just a little bit longer. Our prices are certainly a lot different, but our blade steels are exactly the same. We do have G10 on the Espada Large G10 variant up here. We have Grivex, it's kind of like FRN, GFN, no Zytel, Zyx, whatever you want to call it, on our Spartan. Steel liners in the Spartan, no steel liners in our Espada. They both have thumb plates. Our Spartan's blade length is 4.5 inches. The handle length is 6 inches, meaning its overall length is 10.5 inches. Weighs 9 ounces according to Cold Steel's official website, and retails at $129.99. Currently, as of late 2024. Now, our Espada Large G10, blade length of 5.5 inches, so we have a full 1 inch longer blade right there. Handle length is 6.75 inches, and our overall length is 12.25 inches, or 12.25. Weighs 9.2 ounces, again, just according to their website. Retails at $229.99, a whole $100 more. But in the aftermarket, if you shop around, the Espada is generally 40, 45, maybe 50 bucks more. Already wins in price, but it loses in overall length. It is shorter. So we are technically getting more material. We're getting a longer cutting edge to work with on our Espada, but it's significantly more expensive. They both are wearing the triad lock. They both are tip up carry. Both pocket clips are swappable to the left side, so they're both completely ambidextrous. Technically, the pocket clips themselves are not swappable. They both come with separate pocket clips. Because our pocket clips are not symmetrical, they're lopsided, as you can see. So you just gotta take these 3 screws out if you want this to be carried on your left pocket. This is how it comes by default. Pop it off, put on the new pocket clip that's included in the box, or should be anyway, and then you reuse those same 3 screws that it came with and you slap it on there. They don't come with 2 sets of screws, so you can't have both pocket clips on at the same time if for whatever reason you wanted to do that, just letting you know. But yes, they're both completely ambidextrous, and again, both got the triad lock on there, one of the strongest, most simple locking mechanisms in the world. And again, both wearing the thumb plates, so they can both be deployed by being waved off of the pocket. You can't really get much faster than that. Deploying as you are extracting, I think, is faster than extracting a knife and then deploying it, no matter what the mechanism is, period. You can't really get any faster than this. So A+ in speed for both of these boys. Really, the only big difference as far as materials go are the handle scales. Again, we got G10 on our Espada, no steel liners, other than steel liner slivers up here that are occupying like this small section around the lock bar, but it's certainly not taking up the entire surface area. Spartan's got full steel liners. But G10 is a lot heavier than the typical polymer materials, Grivex, Zyx, Zytel, FRN, GFN, whatever you want to call it. Technically, Grivex right here, I believe, is like FRN or GFN, but there's even more glass content in it, so if anything, it's a little bit more rigid and more strong. Don't quote me on that, but regardless, it's still not going to be as strong as G10, but hey, we got steel liners in there, so that kind of evens it out. If not, makes it even stronger. Kind of redundant, though. It's just a handle scale. Now, let me weigh these 2 suckers. Again, Cold Steel is usually wrong about their weights, like most knife manufacturers are for whatever reason. They're claiming the Spartan's only 9 ounces. My scale reads 9.2. Actually, they were saying the Espada was 9.2. My scale is saying 9.38. So they were close. This is just 0.18 ounces heavier than the Spartan, but we have a blade that's literally 1 inch longer. So as far as weight is concerned, although our Espada is heavier, ounce per ounce, like inch to inch, I say the Espada wins as far as carry is concerned. It's lighter weight for its size, although technically it is heavier than the Spartan. You could maybe say it's even, I'm not really sure, but bang for your buck as far as weight is concerned, I'm going to say the Espada wins, even though it is technically heavier. But for what you're getting, it doesn't feel like it's heavier. The Spartan feels heavier because it's so much shorter and more stout. It's very, very heavy. Those steel liners, man. The blade's very thick, too. It's nothing to be laughed at. It's just an inch shorter than this guy, but pocket clips are almost exactly the same. Spartan's got kind of a wavy clip, as you can see right there. Classic standard Cold Steel clip. It's straight right here. It pinches down abruptly here and then bends back out. neither of them really win. They're basically the same thing, although I do like how this guy on the Espada is flush mounted in there. The pocket clip you can see is recessed inside of the handle. There's a little cutout right there you can see on the other side. Spartan doesn't have that. Spartan, it's just kind of slapped on the top of it. Never had an issue with it, but technically I like this design better. It's more secure, it's more recessed, all that good stuff. I guess you could argue the Espada's pocket clip is better, but they're almost exactly the same. They also carry very similarly. There's very little very little going to be poking out of our pocket right here with either of these guys. Is not much. And honestly, I wish there was more poking out. I know people are wild about having very loop over and secure, quiet pocket clips, if you will. Keep their knives nice and hidden, I understand. But when you get to knives that are this big and this wide and this heavy, I want more to grip onto. I feel like there's just not enough on our Spartan. I've complained about it over and over again. I have trouble extracting this guy, generally speaking. I don't have a whole lot to grip onto, and the fact that it's so big and so wide and so heavy and bulky, I usually end up in a weird, awkward position, and then I gotta clamber up like that, then deploy it. The Espada's almost as bad, but not quite. I feel like I just have a little bit more to grip onto. It's certainly a lot easier to wave off of. The Spartan's not very easy to wave off of. You're gonna have to practice with it. I think it's a combination of the handle being beveled. The Espada's is not beveled, it's completely flush, as you can see. Not a huge deal, but I kind of wish we had more to grip onto, specifically with the Spartan. Maybe a little bit more to grip onto in the Espada, but it is what it is. They're both pretty covert. If you're carrying these, most people are not going to think these are massive knives. There's not a whole lot poking out there. One thing I will say is the Espada, you can see the blade just a little bit. That's what's going to be poking out. Spartan, you're not going to see any blade. So it's arguable which one's more secure, which one's better. Blade shapes are one of the biggest differences we have here. We have a trailing or a clip point, whatever you want to call that, on our Espada. And then we have the Copus style blade that the Spartan is wearing. Some may call it a kukri, but this knife is designed after the Copus sword, so I'm going to say a Copus style blade. Regardless, it has a recurve, excellent chopper, excellent slasher. That recurve will accelerate those motions. Our Espada, more standard. It's easier to make follow-up cuts because there's less weight right there. It's kind of the whole axe versus sword debate. This one's just gonna be a little bit more nimble, more standard, easier to work with, certainly a lot easier to resharpen. Spartan's more specialized. I do like this blade style more. I'm a sucker for recurves. I think they're just cool. And I do find them actually useful for chopping and slashing. You can't really get much more effective than a recurve when it comes to those motions, but not as easy to resharpen. And it's more specific. It's not as utilitarian friendly. It looks more aggressive. It's arguably better for defense. It just kind of depends on what your cutting and fighting style is, I suppose. I don't think either of them is a winner. They're just good for different things. Spot is more of a jack of all trades. Spartan's more specialized. They're both stonewash, both AOS 10A, no differences there. They both deploy exactly the same. The handle shapes. Spartan, very ergonomic. I like how the handle's a bit beveled. It's nice and rounded at the edges. We do have kind of this aesthetic milling going on. It's very like caveman, kind of saber-toothed tiger stripe thing going on. It's very cool. Very primal looking. It's sweet. Very stylistic, whether you're into that or not. But then we have this sort of texture they have on the flush portions of the handle, which is similar to the Cold Steel Tough Light, the Pro Light. It's not super aggressive or anything, but I would not call it smooth either. It's right in that sweet spot. I actually really like it a lot. And then the milling right here does actually add some sort of form of grip as well. Gives it a little something, something. We do have an attempt at jimping right here along the spine, but it basically doesn't do very much at all. Not a big deal though. The knife's so big and heavy. There's so much to hold on to. I don't think it really matters that much. It would have been nice if they kind of matched up the jimping with the lock bar right there, but they didn't, like Cold Steel typically doesn't. It's such a shame too, because it's very cool looking jimping. It's kind of like a lopsided and zigzaggy. Very interesting, very primal looking. Kind of goes with the whole theme we're going with here, but oh well. Very enveloping handle, extremely comfortable. I can really get a full grip on there, and you can see how the handle envelops down here, the guard, and the bolster area. It is extremely comfortable, not going to get knocked out of your hand very easily at all. You can scooch up here, take advantage of that bolster area and the ricasso of the blade. It's not exactly meant to be used that way, I don't think, but it's comfortable enough. It works well if you want to get some cutting down in this area. The inverted portion of the recurve certainly will work well for that. I've done that many times. Not exactly comfortable in pretty much any other position though. It's just this, and then yeah, the reverse grip's pretty good too. I'll give it that. Espada, although I would argue probably not quite as comfortable because it's not beveled, it's more thin. I find thicker, more hand-filling handles to be more comfortable. The more thin handles tend to offer their own advantages. They take up less space in your pocket. You can also get more of a pinch grip, so to speak, on them. Some people like that a little bit more. It's still not an uncomfortable knife by any means. It's very comfortable. I just think the Spartan wins in terms of comfort with the ergonomics and being more enveloping, all that good stuff. The Espada, on the other hand, wins in versatility. I can scooch all the way down here. That's very comfortable. Now here's our standard grip, and then we have our choke up grip, just like the Spartan has as well. Reverse grip carries just like that, just fine. I guess you could scooch up here, but I find that a little bit awkward. It's more versatile. There's more positions you can hold this in. You have more reach too, that's for sure. Again, Spartan a little bit more comfortable, but Espada's got more versatility, less of an extreme handle design. Although it's not exactly a super versatile design either. It's just more versatile than the Spartan. The Spartan is the definition of extreme. It's a very, very specifically designed knife. It's very niche. Espada's, although not terribly versatile, still less niche than our Spartan, I would argue. I like the G10 handle scales on here. It's standard, kind of medium traction, not too rough, not smooth either. It's just right in that sweet spot. Neither of them wins as far as texture is concerned. I can't think they just kind of balance out for their own reasons. So it all comes down to this. Who's the winner? Which knife is better? I mean, as far as versatility is concerned, or length, ease of deployment as you're extracting it, I'm going to say the Espada wins. We have more length here, not only with the inch longer blade, but we can now also choke all the way down here too. We have a lot more reach on this guy. I'd probably rather bring the Espada to a knife fight than the Spartan if I had to pick. However, we do have a more enveloping handle here. It just kind of depends on what you're doing. It's harder for this to get knocked out of your hand. I'm going to argue it has a better grip, but it's just less versatile and it is shorter. But maybe you want that blade style right there. Maybe you want that recurve. That might be what you're going for. Espada is just easier to extract as you deploy it, and it's got more reach. A little bit more nimble, although yes, it is heavier technically. When we're talking the overall length, we have less weight dispersed amongst the entire surface of the knife versus the Spartan being a lot more concentrated as far as like the ratio of weight is concerned. I think that the Espada is just more balanced, more nimble. Again, they're both wearing that triad lock, and we also have the quote-unquote jimping on the liners right here, which don't really do a whole lot, but it's sweet looking at least. But the Espada is a lot more expensive, 45, maybe 50 more bucks than the Spartan. That may be an incentive enough for you to just go with the Spartan anyway. If you have a couple little advantages here and there with the Espada, and I think overall it's a better knife just as far as versatility is concerned. But honestly, if you want to save the money, the Spartan's a great deal. It's an excellent deal. Just below 70 bucks or so, you cannot go wrong. Espada is kind of approaching the expensive realm of things. It's not too bad, but I think it's that G10. I've said this before. When Cold Steel throws G10 on their knives, it makes their prices just skyrocket. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that much more expensive than the Grivex. I'm not really sure. Who knows? But you cannot go wrong with either of these knives, man. Despite the Espada being more on the expensive side, there's knives out there that are half this size, that are like 250 bucks, that have like a dinky little liner lock and a slick aluminum handle. And yeah, it holds an edge a little bit longer, but that's the only advantage you get. I mean, this is still a great deal, just barely over 100 bucks for this massive, massive folder right here. It's combat ready. Both of these knives are excellent. I like the Espada just a little bit more. It's more versatile and it's longer, just more efficient of a knife overall. But our Spartan, I think, is cooler. I like the design more. I think it looks cooler. It's just more niche, and it's a lot more bang for your buck. It's a lot more affordable too. So the fact that we're saving a good 45 or 50 bucks with the Spartan, that really sets it above in a lot of ways as well. They're both excellent folders. What do you think of either of these knives? Do you have them both? Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Mannix out.